Good afternoon, everyone. Today I want to talk about an issue that affects teachers, students, and even families, and that's the impact of overtesting. We often hear about how important assessments are, but there is a growing concern that we may have crossed the line into testing overload. My goal today is to explore the impact of too much testing and how we can find a healthier balance in the way we measure student learning. Let's start with what assessment overload actually means. It is the practice of giving students too many standardized and classroom tests. To put it in perspective, the average student in the United States takes about 112 mandatory standardized tests from kindergarten through 12th grade. That adds up to about 20 to 25 hours each year just sitting for these tests. But it doesn't stop there. Students also spend extra time preparing, doing practice tests, and reviewing. This has raised concerns not just from educators, but also from parents and students themselves who feel overwhelmed. So, what does this overload look like in the classroom? First, it creates higher stress and anxiety levels for students. Instead of focusing on learning, many students worry about test performance. Second, testing takes away from valuable instructional time. When we add up the days spent testing and preparing, that's less time for actual teaching. Third, students often experience test fatigue, where the sheer volume of tests lowers their performance. Over time, this can even cause them to lose interest in learning altogether. And more importantly, with so much focus on testing, students miss opportunities for creative projects, group work, hands-on experiences, and social emotional growth, all of which are just as vital to their education. The good news is that we don't have to choose between accountability and meaningful learning. The key is balance. Instead of focusing on the quantity of assessments, we can emphasize quality. This means leaning more on formative assessments, those quick checks for understanding that guide instruction. It also means exploring alternatives like project-based learning, portfolios, performance tasks, and even self-assessments where students reflect on their own growth. And by being strategic about when tests are given, we can reduce over overlap and minimize stress. So how do we get there? One important step is auditing the current assessment schedule to identify which tests are necessary and which may be redundant. Schools can then eliminate tests that don't add value. At the same time, we can integrate more authentic assessments, those that reflect real world skills and knowledge. Another step is to use the data we collect more effectively, so we're not testing just for the sake of testing. And finally, it's important to keep communication open with students and parents. When they understand the purpose behind each assessment, it can help reduce anxiety and build trust. Looking ahead, there are some practical steps schools and teachers can take. We can create an assessment calendar to avoid stacking multiple tests at once. We can also implement stress reduction strategies like mindfulness or scheduling downtime after major tests. Shifting the focus from grades to growth can also help students see assessments as a part of their learning journey rather than just a score. Regular reviews of our assessment practices will ensure we adjust as needed. And finally, reflection time. Giving students a chance to think about what they've learned can turn assessments into powerful tools for growth instead of just pressure points. In conclusion, an assessment is a necessary part of education, but too much testing can do more harm than good. By finding a better balance, focusing on quality, variety, and student growth, we can create classrooms where learning is at the center and assessments truly serve their purpose. Thank you.